Okay, so I use Inkscape to draw some of the drawings that I've cut out with my ArcDroid. So I figured I'd show a little bit of how that works. I'm gonna do a squirrel feeder. Something that I came up with. I don't know, you may have seen it somewhere else, but I didn't copy the design. I just kind of thought of this, but what I'm not is an artist, so I'm gonna import a squirrel shape that I found free as an SVG on the internet. I'm gonna open that as a separate drawing. So this guy is already an SVG. You can see all the, it's a path. So we can see all the nodes. Slow computer. Still rendering the nodes. So I want to use this as the part of the feeder. I'm going to attach a ring at the bottom that'll hold a cup, like a red Solo cup. Only I'm using a clear cup, so you can see if the food's gone. First thing I'm going to do though is change the document properties to display everything in inches, because I'm cutting out real world things. Pixels doesn't mean much when you're talking about attaching a squirrel feeder to a fence. So I want it to be about 6 inches. So plus and minus zoom in and out. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And you can just enter the number here, but I want to keep the aspect ratio the same. So if you hit the control button and grab the corner, you can just drag it and it'll increase height and width at the same time. I'm just going to try to get as close to 6 as I can. That's close enough. So this will be the back of the feeder. Now I want to attach a little standoff here for the ring. For that I'll use a rectangle. And I want that to be about a 1/2 inch tall. So 0.5 and about 1.5 inches long, I think. I haven't cut this, so I'm just kind of making this up as I go. I have run through the drawing before, so I don't stutter too much when I try to do this video capture piece for you. So now I've got this rectangle that I need to attach to the squirrel. So if I shift and select the squirrel, so they're both selected, I'm going to click path and union. That didn't do it. Oh, that's because I forgot this. Okay, so the squirrel is a path that's part of a group, although there's nothing else in the group. So I'm going to pop this out of the group, pop selection out of group. And one more time, pop selection out of group. And I'm going to delete the group because there's nothing in it, no reason to keep it. So I want to combine this rectangle and this squirrel. And path, union. Okay, so now it's one single path. When I switch here, you can see all the points of and there's nothing here. It's all combined now to a single path. And each one of those points is a change in direction for the CNC cutter, ArcDroid in this case. Alright, so now I need a ring for the cup. So I'll go to the circle tool and I'll draw a ring, and the ring, so the inside hole, the inner diameter of this circle needs to be 3 1/4 inches. So I'm going to make the outside 3.75 inches. That'll leave a 1/4 inch actual physical ring to hold the cup. And now I need a hole, so that gives me a disc. I need a hole, so draw another circle and selection tool and make this one 3 1/4. And I'll make make this one white. So you can look at it like white gets cut out. Well, so the black will be the piece and the white will be the things removed. So that's close to the center, but we can do better than that. So if I select the white circle's already selected, I select the black circle, and if I say align centers vertically and horizontally, now we have them perfectly aligned. And while they're both selected, I'm going to combine them. But I'm going to do a difference this time. That gives me just the remaining piece, the ring. Now I need to attach the ring to the rest of the drawing. So if I have the ring selected, shift, select the rest of the drawing, path, union. So now I have a single drawing and it's a path. So the ArcDroid will be able to interpret that and cut it out. So now I need to save it. File. I haven't gotten into how I'm going to attach this, but that's a very non-ArcDroid thing I'm going to make, and I'm going to make it so it'll slide onto my 6-foot cedar fence. So if I save this guy, I want to save it as a SVG first. File, save as. I'll just put it on my desktop for now. SVG, so if I needed to edit this, I could come back in and I can edit it. So, squirrel feeder, save. And the ArcDroid doesn't want an SVG, the ArcDroid wants a DXF. So if I say save as, I can use the same name and I change this to DXF, save, and I'll keep these settings. Okay, just by the way, I'm using Inkscape. As I said, Inkscape is a open source software, so it costs you nothing to download. It runs on Linux, Mac, and Windows. I'm using Linux currently, Linux Mint, which is also free, on a laptop that I got very cheap as like a second or a used laptop from work. So as a matter of fact, I even edit the videos using Shotcut, which is also an open source, so free to me software. Not that I'm cheap. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. That's what it looks like to create a drawing in Inkscape. So you see how when I finished and saved it, I didn't go to the properties first. Well, so this canvas isn't lined up with the actual image, so this becomes the 0 point when you import it into ArcDroid, and that makes things a little more complicated when trying to find 0 and lining up your torch. The other mistake I did has nothing to do with this drawing. It'll work, but I want to flip it 90 degrees. So I can just do this, and then I want to go into document properties and then resize to content, and that puts the canvas so that the 0 point on this will now be right here when I imported it into the ArcDroid. So I'm going to save this, and let's see, save as squirrel feeder. I want to save the SVG first, replace it, and then save as DXF, save, okay, yes, replace it. So that'll make it easier to place it on my material. That's the only reason I'm turning it sideways. and it'd be easier to zero it with the canvas adjusted to the same size. I'll put links to Inkscape software, and I guess since I mentioned Linux Mint, I can put that, and even Shotcut, which I use for the videos to create the videos for YouTube. But that's it, so don't forget to save. Alright, so now that we have the drawing done, and then I went back and flipped it so it fits better on my material, I'm going to load the drawing again. Squirrel feeder. And since I flipped it sideways, height was 6 plus 3/7. The squirrel's 6 inches, so, and 375 for the circle, so I'll do 9.75. But I want to do that on the width now. 9.75 should give me a roughly 6-inch tall squirrel. So that's the imported drawing. And the lead in for each cut will be 0.25. Right cut, I think, is correct. So it's cutting on the inside of the circle and the outside of the squirrel. So that's fine. That's what I want. And I want to go from the inside out. So I want to cut this circle first before I cut out the squirrel. So let me zoom out a little bit. So now the 0 point is where I want it to be. Makes it easier to line it up. And I think I have the material lined up already, so I'm going to do a dry run and see what that looks like. Alright, I dorked around with this a little while, moving the material around and clamping it down and everything. One of the reasons with the clearance of the torch was I didn't have enough slack in my hose on my bungee cord setup there. And that was causing it to not get in the right position for cutting. So I got this all adjusted. I really don't like this design because it uses a lot of metal, but I told my wife I'd make it for her, so that's what we're doing. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. Came out okay, and I changed my mind. I kind of do like this because the more I look at it, the more it looks like a target. If it wasn't 16 gauge, it might be something you could shoot. Maybe I have to make this out of some heavier gauge metal. A little bit of funkiness there. I don't know why I got a straight edge. Maybe time to calibrate again, but I think that'll work. Alright, so I'll clean up the squirrel a little bit before I bend it. Bending it'll be fun since it's not like I have a metal brake or anything, but quick cleanup. So I want to try to bend this guy right about where his feet are, I guess. Let's see what happens. That looks like it's going to work okay. Get too big of a hammer for the job. And this side's not nearly bent right. There's a video of nothing. I just went and grabbed some pliers. I mean, that's a 16 gauge. So something like that. So that's the first step. And let's do a test. Holds the cup. So now I just gotta, I want to put like a T-bracket back here so it can just slide down on the dog ear fence. So that's the next step. Okay, I've got a piece of scrap metal and marked up what I want to cut off, and I think for this it'll be easier just to use the bandsaw. So these are the two pieces I need. Yeah, I know that's not the safest thing that anybody's ever saw done, but I saw it on Motor Trend and Discovery, and all the online people do it. So I do have some friends that are woodworkers that probably just cringed and were very, very disappointed with me. But those are the pieces of metal I need right there. Okay, so the idea here is to put a T on the back of this squirrel so it can slide down onto a dog ear fence. So on the back here, it'll be like that. The first thing I gotta do is, so when it hits the 2x4, I want it to stop. So I got an extra ½ inch of this. The 2x4 for the top crossbar on the fence. Smart. So 16 gauge metal likely could just fit between the 2x4 and the fence. So that will help stop it. Not exactly a straight bend. Alright, so get this tacked on there. Alright, so this is how it's supposed to work. Slide the squirrel onto the fence, then put the cup in. Alright, a few more tacks. I mean, like I said, it's a squirrel, they don't weigh much. It's not like I'm building a bumper for a car or something. Alright, so that's it, my squirrel feeder. Pretty simple. Cool thing is it can attach to the fence without putting a screw or a bolt, nut, whatever. No nails. I'll put some paint on it and we'll put a cup out there and see what my wife thinks. We have no shortage of squirrel feeders at our house, but just to show you what the idea is, it slides on there, and then the cup goes in here. There you go, squirrel feeder.